Hello. Welcome back to the LoCARNet, the 11th annual meeting. So now we will like to start the second session for the national level at the activities. So the session title is Contribution to the Development of Mid-Long-Term Emissions Reduction Scenario Analysis. So I'd like to invite that Masui Sensei that as a facilitator of this session. So Masui Sensei, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ishikawa-san. Hello, everyone. My name is Toshihiko Masui. Belong to NIS, National Institute for Environmental Studies. So I think you could enjoy the good discussion on the city level, the decarbonized societies. And in this session, we focus on the national level decarbonization issues. So now in Switzerland, the IPCC meeting is held and to publish the synthesis report, summary for policymakers of synthesis report of IPCC AR6. So but now is the time to promote and accelerating the activity toward the decarbonized society. So so in order to achieve the decarbonized society, we need the accelerating the mitigation measures, and so we need more ambitious and practical scenarios. So I hope that today we invite the 4 speakers to show the national level the mitigation, the decarbonized scenarios. So they will explain the national level mitigation scenarios, and also lastly, the Arino-san will explain the issue for the 4 ASEAN regions. So maybe the discussion on the national level and the city level, the collaboration between the national level and city level, through the deep discussion, we can the more practical and the ambitious the scenario. We can discuss the scenario to achieve the decarbonized society. So so your opinion and suggestion is quite useful and important to improve the scenario, especially the numerical scenarios. So I hope you will show your opinion about the present the scenario from the several countries in Asia. Okay. So firstly, we'd like to invite Dr. Nguyen Tun Lam from VNPI. On he will explain the Vietnam scenario. Lam-san, it's okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sensei. Okay. Yeah. So today I just want to share with you about the what we have done so far for the Vietnam National Strategy on Climate Change for 2050, with the AIM team did and contribute to the to preparing the national strategy of Vietnam. So actually in 2020 had agreement between the MONRE, Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources of Vietnam, with the Ministry of Environment of Japan, to agree on using the AIM, the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model, to develop the long-term strategy of Vietnam on climate change. And the purpose is research. The aim model will provide the overview of the long-term GHG peak of Vietnam and provide some potential countermeasure and also a path to achieve the mitigation targets. There were three models used: the extended snapshot to assess the emissions by 2050, the end use to assess the technology option to achieve the future GHG mitigation, and the MCGE to assess the economic impacts to reduce the GHG emission of Vietnam. And to do those things, the aim team with the some experts to join the team to do with the three models. And after collaborate with the Monterey expert and actually for the Department of Climate Change to collect the data with the Line Ministry of Vietnam and to have the consulting with the local experts. The models, the three models have completed with some suggestions, such as for the target by 2050 for the net zero. So it's necessary to set the peak year before 2035. And renewable energy is in electricity generation is considered as a high proportion in the solution. And the power generation in the coal power plant will be peak in 2025 and decline to zero by 2050. Also, the new gas power plant should be equipped with the carbon capture storage or to be prepared to install CCS. And it should be start after 2030 at latest. And about the biomass power plant, more than 50% of new biomass power plant should be equipped with the CCS, and it should be prepared to install CCS by 2050. And about the hydrogen, it should be equivalent to about 25% of total final energy consumption in 2020. And for industry sector, the CCS should be required for some sector like cement and iron and steel sector by 2050. And about the transportation, all passenger cars should be electric vehicle after 2030, and freight car should be after 2040. So after have a lot of the consulting workshop with amongst Monterey and Line Ministry and with the local experts. On 26th of July 2022, the Prime Minister have the issue edition number, we call it number 896 on the National Strategy on Climate Change. So according to this strategy, by 2030, the two target is 2030 and 2050. So by 2030, the total national GHG emission reduced by 43.5% compared with the BAU, in which the energy sector decreased by 32.6%. The emissions did not exceed 457 million tons of CO2 equivalent. In the agriculture sector, the emissions decreased by 43%, and the emission did not exceed 64 million tons of CO2 equivalent. The forestry sector and land use will reduce emissions by 70% and increase carbon sequestration by 20%, with total emission and removal reaching at least minus 95 million tons of CO2 equivalent. And the waste sector decreased by about 60.7%, and the emission did not exceed the 18 million tons of CO2 equivalent. And for industrial processes sectors, it can be decreased by 38.3%, and the emission did not exceed 86 million tons of CO2 equivalents. And for the target by 2050, the total GHG emission will reach net emission level of zero. Emission peak in 2035, then decline rapidly, in which the energy sector will decrease by 91.6%, agriculture sector decrease by 63%, forestry and land use will reduce by 90%. Waste sector decreased by 90.7%, and industry sector decreased by 84.8%. So those figures all based on the models estimation and forecast, and also have consulting with the line ministry in Vietnam to set these targets and the issues by the Prime Minister. And we have some remark that the team provide for Monterey. That's about the earlier hydrogen and CCS. It introduced earlier the GHG emission peaks, and that leads to avoid the rapid emission reduction in the short term after the peak. In order to avoid stranded assets, CCS must be ready for being equipped with the industrial and power plant well in advance. And the second remark is to achieve the net zero emission. It estimates the amount of investment around 300 billion US dollars. So international support is important to accelerate the out and to have the country achieve both in GDP growth and also targets for the GHG emission reductions. It's very important and needs the good and effective coordination amongst the line ministries with the direction from the top leader in implementing the existing climate change policy, and regular review and update of ministry action plan are very important to achieve the target of the net zero emission by 2050 for Vietnam. So there are some briefly sharing with you about results that the team have done so far. So for the Vietnam General Development, and now last year after this decision, the Ministry of the Environment working with line ministry to prepare the decree. It means the under the law documents to stipulate how the line ministry will go to meet the targets that is set up by the national strategy of Vietnam. So I just have briefly to share with you about that, and thank you.
Thank you, Ram-san. Thank you very much for your introduction of the quite recent the Vietnam situation. So yeah, so floor is open. So are there any questions, comments to the Vietnam's activities? Yeah, if you have comments or questions, yeah, please raise your hand. Maybe, yeah, after this session, we have the discussion session. So at that time, we can discuss more. But if you have some questions, especially for the clarification, no. Yes, Arino-san, please. Arino-san, sorry, you're mute.
Sorry, Masai-san, thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. And Dr. Lam, thank you very much for your kind of brief overview of the national climate change strategy and also the potential contribution to AIM model. My question is, you mentioned national climate change strategy until 2050, and is it, in our understanding, maybe it is different from the long-term strategy that you are, the national Vietnam's government is now preparing. So is this the same or the different? And if different, what kind of discussions for the long-term strategy to be submitted to the UNFCCC, or just a national strategy until 2050 is a kind of legal position in the status? May I clarify this point? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, for the national strategy, this is a kind of legal one. So after the Prime Minister issues this one, so the line ministry will be preparing the action plan and their own plan to achieve the strategy.
Sorry, the final part, I missed due to the interruption. So after making some plans in line with this,
the signal is not so good.
Now it's okay. Thank you. So the long-term strategy status is now preparation status based on this strategy until 2050.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Arino-san and Ram-san. Any other questions, comments? So from my side, yeah, I have one question about the activity of the industrial side. So industrial side also changed their attitude or the process related using the energies. So what kind of change is yeah we can observe?
Okay. Actually, for the industry side, so because of the sector, like the construction or transportation or industrial processes, so each sector have under the one line ministries. So what we observe is from, for example, from the construction ministry, they have to issue the regulation to promote this. We call it the green materials for constructions, like the using the light cement, glasses in the construction building, and some estimate for the whole building emission quotations. And for the industries or transportation, the promotion for the replay the fossil fuel and by the renewable energy and some other kind of the fuel is replaced by the industry and promoted by the MOIT. Yeah, and for the transportation also to replace the fossil fuel for the car, and now electricity is the more encouraged by the Ministry of Transportation. So if we look at in the wide area for each sector, the industry have the now try the net zero emission targets. Hello.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, so industry side also move to the decarbonized societies. Okay. Okay, so time has already passed 15 minutes. So yeah, thank you very much, Ram-san. Thank you. So we'd like to move to the next speaker, Professor Bundit from Thailand. Bundit Sensei, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon from Bangkok. My name is Pandit from Thammasat University. May I present? Oh. Okay. So you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Masui. For contribution of aim to long-term low emission development strategy of Thailand, I would like to present here. We start from the keyword given by Thailand Prime Minister in the COP26. Okay, at that time we prepare emission pathway of Thailand according to 2 degree of IPCC. That means net zero emission within the second half of this century. But at the COP26, we increased the ambition. The Prime Minister of Thailand expressed in the meeting that we have willingness to fight the climate change by aiming at net zero emission by 2065, and with the advocate timely and equitable support through technology transfer and cooperation, and most importantly, the ability of and access of ample green climate. Actually, Thailand can increase NDC to 40% and meet carbon neutrality by 2050. Okay, so we I have assignment that is NDC 40% by 2030. Is it possible to do? And carbon neutrality by 2050 and net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2065. Okay, we received this assignment, and the Commission focal point. This is the process that Commission focal point by ONEP. Okay, submit to UNFCCC. We start with this one. You see, this start working group. In the working group, we have several group. Of course, we organize the working group according to recommendation from UNFCCC, especially according to IBC greenhouse gas inventory, such as energy sector, IPPU, agriculture, and we try to separate transport sector from energy. And we have waste sector, LULUCF, and also we have macroeconomic agency, such as the Bank of Thailand, okay, to participate socio-economic group. And we use AIM, okay, for analysis to show technology mix and impact to economy of Thailand, okay. And we did national consultation. Here you can see the process with stakeholder. So we repeat the process here, okay. National consultation of each group until we have consensus. Consensus, what does it mean? It means that the pathway to show NDC 40% by 2030, the pathway of carbon neutrality by 2050, and the pathway of net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2065. And then we submit the result to ONEP. And ONEP, they have internal process here for approval. And then final approval, of course, must be done by cabinet. And then ONEP as secretary of climate change and focal point of Thailand climate change submit to UNFCCC. This is the process of long-term strategy and NDC of Thailand. In Thailand, updated NDC last year, 2022, so increase the ambition, that means increase amount of greenhouse gas reduction from 25% to 40%. That means that is equal to 222 million tons. Okay, and the sector include not only energy but also waste, IPPU, and LULUCF, including agriculture sector. So this is the process. You can find this diagram from UNFCCC website, Thailand Long-Term Strategy, Low Emission Development Strategy here. This is the methodology we present in chapter 3 or chapter 4. We use both AIM-NUS and AIM-CGE, but both models need the same input. For example, driving factor are population, GDP, energy price, emission factor, discount rate, and so on. And for end-use model, of course, we also have to check with existing policy in all sector, energy, IPPU, follow, waste, and then end-use model generate technology mix and emission pathway. we make the soft ring between NU and CGE. So CGE receive technology mix and emission pathway from NU, and CGE do analysis. Okay, so we present in terms of NU, we present energy consumption, energy mix, and energy system cost. For the CGE, we present the macroeconomic parameter, for example, change in GDP, change in welfare, change in household and government consumption, including carbon price. So this is FNU's model for Thailand. You can see the four form here. Fuel type, such as we have fossil fuel, renewable energy. Technology, of course, we learn from M training. Of course, we have to acknowledge NAS who provide M training for ASEAN country, for Thailand, almost 10 years. And technology here we modify, okay, and use to the technology that available and used in Thailand. And the service demand also have to change the service demand of such as electricity consumption. We have to use official road forecast of the Thai government. We cannot do it by ourselves, because if we do it, government will not accept and may not agree. And the other also such as the cooling, heating demand. We have to check all information that provided by government agency. Information including emission database and socio-economic driver. And this is MCGE for Thailand. You can see we have the module of production block here. Okay, the top production block and the market block, including import export. The bottom block we have household block, okay, and also government here. Okay, we also have to acknowledge NAS who provide the training of MCGE, especially Dr. Mansui, that conduct in person before the COVID-19 at Thammasat University for MCGE training. The other sector, such as the supply side, we have power sector. You can see left-hand side is the fuel type. We have technology. Right-hand side is the demand. Building sector, the same. We have fuel type technology, and right-hand side is the demand. That means the demand normally we need to check information provided by the government, such as the state demand. Okay, and manufacturing industry also very serious that we need to classify manufacturing industry according to recommendation from Ministry of Energy Thailand. Normally we divide into 9 sub-industry. Transport sector also we divide to the mode of transportation. We exclude international aviation that recommended by IPCC. And one information that very important that we use in modeling to calibrate the result from a model is inventory. This is Thailand greenhouse gas emission inventory. In BUR4 that Thailand submitted to UNFCCC last year, you can see that here emission source are slightly increasing, especially last 5 years almost be stable. But in terms of net emission, of course, the negative we have LULUCF. In terms of net emission, you can see go back to 10-20 years, increasing rate very low. Okay, about 1 or 2%. Almost we can say almost be stable. This is very important indicator that Thailand may achieve the peak emission soon. One thing that we use to classify unconditional and conditional NDC is abatement cost. So abatement cost we can use it directly now from NNU. We also have to acknowledge Dr. Hanuka-san who provide the training and also suggest how to calculate abatement cost from NNU's model. So you can see here we have negative cost. Negative cost normally is unconditional, okay, and some positive and high cost. Of course, we may ask for international. In the case of NDC, we use this MAC for unconditional and conditional NDC. During the analysis last year, IBC AR6 Workgroup 3 mitigation already published option that available for mitigation. We use that information and we present to stakeholders. You can see that in terms of energy sector, solar, wind, very low cost compared to other technology. Transport sector, you can see many options are lower cost and we can implement immediately. Okay, but in building maybe quite hard to do. At a new building with high yield performance, the cost quite high. Industry also not easy. Okay, especially is CCS in industry. Okay, and this information stakeholder realize and use this information for agreement of the mitigation option that we present for Thailand long-term strategy development. And finally, we select mitigation option. Okay, so we highlight the measure one by one, more than 100 or 200 option, and then stakeholder pick up. Okay, and we combine together and we find that this is the BAU. BAU for NDC is about 555 for Thailand by the year 2030. And now we see that we can increase the NDC from NDC that we submit in INDC, that means in Paris Agreement, about 25%. So we can do it up to 40%. Okay, and we see that from 30% to 40%, the cost is quite high. And that's why the stakeholder and government suggest that high cost option government put for conditional NDC. So that means we have unconditional NDC 30%. Okay, and Thailand will peak the emission by 2025 to 2030. Okay, and this is ESG deduction by sector. You can see that for IPPU 1.1 million ton, that at this moment cement industry said that they already achieved 1 million ton from now this year. So 1.1 not difficult for them. Agriculture, we set it 2.6 from stakeholder meeting, but they say that not easy to achieve. This we may need the support. The waste sector 2.6 also the same. Okay, of course majority is energy sector. So in this sector, for unconditional NDC 30%, they can do 163 million ton. The other 50 to 60 million ton will be conditional NDC. Okay. About the LUCF, that Thailand set 120 million ton. In this case, Monterey of Thailand have a special working group, not done by us. The special working group, including forestry agency, already checked that this is the information from inventory that we can do almost 100 million ton now. Okay, and according to long-term or master plan of forestry of Thailand, we check that we can achieve 120 million ton by before 2040, and then we will keep 120 million ton until carbon neutrality year 2050. Okay, and this is the result of the pathway. So the result come here. You can see that if we consider only CO2, okay, remove methane and nitrous oxide, we'll see that NDC 30%, 40%, sorry, by 2030, emission should be around 333. But if we consider only CO2, it will be around only 2050 million ton. Of course, in this case, Thailand will peak by the year 2035. That means the next 2 years. I think this is also very dangerous. Okay, and then decreasing because new power plant construction will shift to a lower carbon. Of course, that means from now we are facing down coal-fired power plant. And you can see that in terms of electric vehicle, we have a very strong promotion last year. And finally, by the year 2050, Thailand can achieve carbon neutrality That means emission source, that total from all sector will be 120 million ton in terms of CO2. That equal to the sink 120 million ton. In terms of net zero greenhouse gas, you can see that peak of emission will appear by the year 2025. That around less than 400, about 370 million ton. And by the year 2030, emission source show you about 333. That it exactly match the pathway of NDC 40%. And by the year of carbon neutrality here, you see CO2 is equal to 120, equal to the sink, but we still have other emission left. Net emission, you can see net emission about 64. That means this 64 come from other gas, not CO2. Of course, after 2050, we already checked from our modeling that it's hard for Thailand to achieve net zero greenhouse gas by 2065. At that time, we have to transform energy system to use other fuel, such as hydrogen, for example. During stakeholder meeting in Thailand, some agency ask about land use for solar PV. That, of course, very high. We use it more than 50% of its generation, or 60% by 2050. You can see that we calculate land use for solar PV, that the last you see PV area requirement just 0.05%. That is not 0.5 of national area. No, this is 0.05% of unused land. Unused. That is very small. We have plenty of land for solar PV. Don't worry in this case. We also provide a pathway because output from modeling not enough to convince stakeholders. Yeah, we have to show them that what technology that we select and the timeline the technology come. So this is very important. In supply side, according to IBC coding 1A1 is power generation or in industry, you can see that by the year 2030, we need solar with battery storage. By the year 2040, we have to fade down coal-fired power plant and fade out coal-fired power by 2050 exactly. And by 2040, the share of solar wind more than 50%. And before 2040, we need CCS and BioE with CCS. Of course, by this timeline pathway, Thailand can achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And by 2050, share of solar wind will be higher than 60%. Of course, we need hydrogen fuel. That hydrogen fuel will make Thailand to achieve net zero greenhouse gas by 2065. We also provide timeline for manufacturing industry. IBC code it 1A2. In manufacturing industry, we need efficient electric device. We also have to chip the other, such as boiler using fossil fuel, chip to electric boiler, for example. In this case, we can achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Of course, we need green hydrogen fuel after 2050 to make net zero greenhouse gas by 2065. For transport sector, IBC code is 1A3. In this case, you can see that we have very strong promotion last year for electric vehicle. We set the target of the share 30% by 2030. We call 30 at 30 policy of Thailand. And also you can see that by the year 2050, the share of EV, of course, almost two-thirds majority. That means the new vehicle, and we can achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and net zero greenhouse gas by 2065. Other sector also, IPPU here, we provide the timeline. Majority of the action for IPU is clinker substitution and CCS in cement industry. Agriculture, mainly, of course, lifestyle, okay, or behavioral change. This is very important. That one area of the research that we have to do for, I think, all countries in the world. The waste sector, mainly methane. We also need management for reducing methane. This is the result from CGE. We show that macroeconomic impact and cost benefit analysis for updated NDC. For example, we have carbon neutral and net zero in greenhouse gas 2065, but this slide show only updated NDC by 2030. We present the change in GDP. This change in GDP compared to BAU. What is BAU? BAU means we do nothing. In reality, today we are doing both mitigation and adaptation. So the change in GDP minus 0.3%, minus 0.4%, minus 0.5%, almost, I would say, insignificant compared to the other actions such as green job that increase, for example. Okay, so this minus 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 almost be negligible. And in terms of government consumption, of course, government have to do more expenditure. Okay, change in welfare the same, minus 2% and minus 3%, which also not high. The carbon high also, you can see that by the year 2030, that means that most option and most policy measure that we can do it. That's why we put it in unconditional NDC. Finally, last year, we decided to produce the roadmap to net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050 because we realized that the target of 2065, we have to shift to 2050 soon. So that's why we provide this by our own capacity, by our own research to the government. Okay, and we receive the support from NAS. Kindly put this brochure in NAS website. You may download from this QR code. And this brochure just 40-50 pages. And we distribute this brochure for the policy maker, not only in Thailand, but also you may use this information because this brochure we done the analysis for net zero greenhouse gas, by the year 2050. Of course, we need to increase the ambition more than what Thai government submit to in FCC in long-term strategy. That means most of climate change mitigation in terms of national level almost be done, almost be done for Thailand. Also, I want to thank Professor Nishoka in the beginning of LoCARNet meeting when he invited me to participate LoCARNet meeting, and I would also like to use his slide that very important for me, that this is the spirit of LoCARNet, that you cannot say you master knowledge until you use it in action on the ground. For national level of climate change mitigation, especially net zero emission 2050 of Thailand, we believe that Thailand almost achieved this target. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bundit Sensei. Just now, I upload the URL of the brochure developed by Bundit Sensei's office on the chat box. So, yeah, please access, get the brochure for all Thailand. Okay. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I accept the quite simple questions comment from the floor. So, someone has a questions, comments? Maybe the Thailand is a kind of the top runner in the AIM group. So
Thank you.
I think your knowledge and the experiences is a good a kind of the textbook for other countries. So yeah, I think that this kind of the opportunity is a very good for the other countries, researchers and policy makers. Okay, thank you very much. So, Bundit Sensei, okay, so we'd like to move to the next presentation.
Can I ask the
yes.
Bundit Sensei?
Oh, Professor Lizadi, yeah, welcome.
How are you?
Don't
thank
ask
you very
too
much.
difficult question.
No, it's interesting when I look at the last slide about the impact on the welfare, also on GDP when you move into the 40% target, right?
Yes.
So the different carbon price increasing, the the welfare is decreasing a bit more, including also the GDP. So could you explain a bit more why that? The logic of why actually the GDP decreasing while you have a carbon price increasing?
When we compare to BAU, that we do nothing. So if we do more greenhouse gas reduction, like of course we need to employ advanced technology compared to the BAU. So that's why the cost is higher. But in reality, today we already do some mitigation and do some adaptation. Like if we include, if we compare to the percentage, like we will get the benefit because the percentage we already had, for example, green job.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the carbon price, in fact, now is lower because the carbon price subject to BAU that we done nothing. In reality, we are already doing mitigation and adaptation. That's why the carbon price today, I believe that if we compare to the percentage, may be less than $1.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you are interested in the FCG, you have to contact Dr. Masui. Yeah, he's a professor expert in CGE.
Okay.
Yeah, the Indonesian team has already came to NIS from last December to February. So I think that next time the Professor Rizaldi team will explain the results for the Indonesian the roadmap. Anyway, thank you very much, Bundit Sensei. Thank you. Okay, and so we'd like to move to the next speaker, Professor Rizaldi. Yeah,
Okay.
floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased to see you all. So, but please apologize. Actually, our colleague Pak Uchok is in the hospital. So we really expect you to pray for him. So hope he can recover very soon. Bu Gelang might not be able to join, but I'm trying to contact her. Hopefully, if she still can manage, so she might be able to join with us now. So I only listen about our contribution related to the Follow Net Sync 2030. So as you understand that Indonesia have submitted the long-term strategy document, and then we also have submitted the enhanced NDC. So actually, enhanced NDC actually we increased the ambition for reducing the emission from 29 to 31.8% unconditionally, while with the international support we increased also from 41 into 43%. But as you might know, also that the government have expressed a long-term vision to increase its emission reduction ambition toward net zero emission. So we expect we can reach that at 2060 or earlier. So our team will contribute in the process of developing the scenario for enhanced NDC, including also long-term strategy. But now we are also in the process of developing the second NDC, including also the update of the long-term strategy. So more detailed analysis on the economic part of our submission related to the long-term strategy might be enhanced. As you also might know, actually Indonesia government also have a very strong commitment to really increase the ambition in the context of land use change and forestry, where actually at the present this sector actually contribute to the major part of national emission, which is more than 50%. But in the next 8 years, we hope that actually this sector can change into net sink, follow net sink we call it. It is really hard work, but the government are very serious. We have taken a number of action, and of course our team also contribute into that process. How we can also assist the sector, including also the provincial government, go down into the district, even not only a part of that. How actually we can really support in the process of facilitating development of a working plan toward the follow net sink. So the Minister of Environment and Forestry, with our contribution, also have developed an operational plan So we call it operational plan for FollowNet Sync 2030. So there are about 15 mitigation action that has been prioritized to reach the FollowNet Sync by 2030. As you may also familiar that we also trying to focus on avoiding deforestation in dryland forest, including also the peat and mangrove forest. And we also focus on reducing the degradation, especially on the legal logging activities, and how also the private sector also can implement a better silviculture system. So we hope that we also can reduce the degradation in dryland forest, especially in the concession area, including also in the peatland. On another action, we are trying to also accelerate the establishment of timber plantation on the unproductive land. So by doing this, we hope that we also can reduce our reliance on the natural forest for meeting our wood demand. So the expansion of the timber plantation in unproductive land hope can cover the need of our wood demand. And while in the production forest where actually the conservation operates, so it is also mandatory for them now actually to implement the intensive silviculture system, including enhanced natural regeneration, and applying the reduced impact logging technique for reducing the impact of logging. While the remaining the graded land will be focused on rehabilitation with rotation, and then rehabilitation without rotation. So the rehabilitation without rotation will be focused in the area with based on the function of this area actually important in providing the environmental services, in particular on providing the water services. So on this area, so the activities of rehabilitation will it is without rotation. It means that there is no logging activity or harvesting activities in this area. But of course, the non-timber forest product will be still products that can come out from these activities. And then the other one is, of course, in the concession area, or concession area also need to improve the water management in order to reduce the emission from peat decomposition, including also restoring the peatland, especially on the degraded peatland. And including also mangrove, it is also one of our priority now, because we also have around 3 million of mangrove forests. So we are going to do a restoration there, including also the area that has been left by mining companies. So we are also doing the reclamation in that area. While in the past, the conservation forest is only just designated in the area where actually already allocated the conservation forest. But now, by having an information and data that government have collected for a number of years, now there are many areas outside of the forest conservation, which is in the production forest, and in protection forest, we also have the mega fauna value. There is also the high conservation value in this area. So that's why one of the program actually we expand the area that has been designated as conservation, also in the production forest and also in the protection forest. While to increase the engagement of the community, so we also implement the social forestry. So hopefully we can also accelerate the optimization, the use of forest land through this social forestry program. And the remaining, of course, relating to consolidate the Adat forest. It is actually the Adat is indigenous people, including also supervision and law enforcement for supporting the forest protection. So these all activities has been set up in the operational plan of FollowNet Sync. So where the area is being targeted for implementation of each action is also being defined, and also facilitate the local government how they can also translate the national operational plan FollowNet Sync into the work plan at the provincial level. So of course, for the implementation FollowNet Sync, it is very important how actually local government can really integrate this FollowNet Sync into the medium and long-term development plan. So we also support them in terms of developing a method, because our guidance how actually they can really develop their work plan toward the FollowNet Sync, and how they also being integrated into medium and long-term development plan that I'm going to talk after this. And then, of course, regulation at national and subnational, because at the national level, there are new regulation has been issued. One of them actually presidential regulation, the carbon pricing, and also the Ministry of Environment, Energy and Mineral Resources also already launched the act on the renewable energy. So there are many initiatives, but need also being followed by the regulation at the subnational. In terms of the institutional structure on the coordination, how to increase the coordination across the parties. So here we also get the support from Norway, and now we also already set up a special office where this office have play a role in coordinating the implementation of the VoluNet Sync and also creating collaboration with others. So we call it FOLOCO. FOLOCO is Forest and Other Land Use Operation and Collaboration Center. So these centers will be play a role in linking between the international and also between the stakeholders, how actually the implementation of the VOLU can be implemented effectively. In terms of resource mobilization, so of course we also try to optimize also the use of funding from the domestic, including for the international resources. We also set up national agency for managing the environmental fund, like the result-based payment. Result-based payment, for example, is also being managed by these agencies through the consultation with various stakeholders. So the system for sharing the benefit from the result-based payment is also set up, and now this fund is also can be accessed by others to support the climate action. Of course, there are some the green bond also being part of the funding sources for these agencies, including also disaster fund is also being managed by these offices, and also some of the rehabilitation fund, which is quite significant amount of fund, which is about 50% is being also managed by these agencies. All these funds actually, we call it a mix of domestic and international funding. So this actually can be accessed by various, including also the private. But of course, there are 3 schemes being provided there as loan scheme for investment, and then the revolving fund, and another one is grant. And of course, to ensure that all the implementation of activities can be measured. So the MRV system for this also now being improved, especially on the National Forest Inventory System, including also the National Forest Monitoring System. These two assets, the system is now also being improved with the support of the FAO. And of course, this is actually being linked later on with the National Register System with the Science Mark. So these are actually all the initiative is now underway in Indonesia. But now the main issues that I would like to share with you about the approach, how we distribute the target that has been set up in VoluNet Sync into the subnational. So we develop approach where actually the allocation of the action toward the VoluNet Sync, it is developed based on the 3 spatial information. So one is actually we call it on the above actually the priority location index. The priority location index actually the area which has been identified as area that to be prioritized for the implementation of the action. How this index is being developed? So we actually use 3 information. One is actually information related to the emission come from the deforestation, including also the what are the remaining forests at present. So the area would have high forests, but with low deforestation rate, have a low emission risk. While in the other province where actually the remaining forest at present is high, while the deforestation is also the remaining forest is low, while the rate of deforestation in the past is relatively high. So this area have the emission risk. And then also including also the fire, including also the availability of unproductive land. So this 3 information has been integrated to produce the priority location index. So this one of the spatial information that we provide, how they can really use this emission risk information or sequestration potential for identifying the hotspot where actually the priority location for the implementation activity is being defined or being selected. So the second spatial information that has been provided in the middle one, it is actually the environmental services index. So the area have a priority, if very high, have a high priority, well, actually based on the function of this area in providing the environmental services also very high. So the index value is also high for that, and this is become very urgent to be selected for the implementation of the action. So what are the information that's being used for defining the environmental services index? So there are also three information that we use there. One information is about the quality of the forest. The quality of forest is based on the standing carbon stock, and also the ground cover, indicating the level of degradation of the forest. The high quality forest, of course, have a more the higher index. And the second information is about the presence of the megafauna, like endemic fauna, like tiger and so on. So the government have also data which has been collected for a number of years, so we know where actually distribution of the megafauna in all areas. So we also use that one to indicate whether this area have a high conservation value or not, including also the presence of the endemic ecosystem such as peatland, mangrove, savanna, karst. So we also have that spatial information. So we use that one also in developing the environmental service index. And the other one, actually, the carrying capacity of the area, especially in buffering the climate hazard like a landslide, a flood, and fire, including also the function of the area in providing all the water services. So the ministry also has this information. So we use three information in developing the environmental services index. So these two information, actually, the two spatial map is being used for defining where actually the locations to be prioritized for the implementation of the action. Of course, in order to define what type of activities, and then we combine that with the land use map. So in the area where actually it is priority, and then is also should be protected based on their function in providing the environmental services, and the land use is still in the forest land. So this is actually one of the area which need to be prioritized for avoiding the deforestation, because this area is under threat, but it is also important to maintain and to protect it, because we know that this area also have a very important function in providing the environmental services. So this to map, and then we also combine later on for setting up the strategy for the implementation about the intentional capacity index. So this is also informed about what actually the social capital, what at the level of economic and social activity in the area. So we call it social capital. It's combined with the institutional capacity at the site level. So in terms of, because these information are very important to understand what actually the policy and also strategy at the national government in terms of strengthening this institutional capacity at the site level. So this information, this three information is now can be used for setting up the strategy for the implementation. So this the development of this template is also involve the university, including our team, as part of our also work in developing the long-term strategy on strategy for the following thing. So this process actually come up with where area, what type of where is the area for implementation of the action, what type of action. So we can have this information at national level, and then this actually has been translated into work plan for every field, or we call it rencana kerja bidang. It's work plan for field of the sustainable forest management, and work plan on the field of enhancement of forest carbon stock. And then there is also a work plan for the management of peatland and mangrove, and so on. So there are 5 work plan in the field of sustainable forest management, enhancement of forest carbon stock, mangrove or forest management, including also the monitoring and information. And this actually also being introduced to the provincial government. So they also being facilitated to develop their own work plan at the provincial level, following the guidance that has been developed. And of course, at the present, 12 provinces has produced that work plan for the FolloNet. As you can see here, there's this actual document that has been produced by the provincial government. But now for this remaining year, for in the 2023, so there are 25 more provinces that is being facilitated to translate the operational plan for FolloNet into a work plan at the provincial level. So the 12 province has been completed, but now move into the remaining 23 province. So this actually the use of the template. So each province can also identify which area that need to be prioritized, what type of action. And then of course, so the discussion with the stakeholder, we can also identify the challenge, the barrier. And now in the context of the concession area, the government also plan to integrate that with the long-term plan of the concession, which is also a basis to provide the business to approve the business plan proposed by the concession. So the concession nowadays actually can also implement multi-business activities, even though in the previous they only have the permit for one type of product, which is log, but now they also can use the other product come from this concession, including non-timber forest product, including environmental services, and so on. But in the past, actually, each type of product need to have one permit, but now with one permit, they can do multiple business activities. So this also part of the activities that's being implemented by the government, but with our involvement, with our team involvement. So this actually the progress that we have made so far in terms of the implementation of the FolloNet 2030 as one of the strategy how we can really achieve the net zero by 2030. So I would like to end my presentation there, and hopefully this information are useful for other countries. And if you would like to have a question, and please feel free, and I will be happy also to respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Rizaldi. Yeah, that at this moment, the carbon sink is quite important, and today's presentation is quite informative to promote such the carbon sink. Okay. So yeah, we'd like to open the floor. So if you have questions, comments, yeah, maybe the time is quite limited. So firstly, yeah, we'd like to move to the next presentation, Arino-san's presentation, and then we will discuss more. Okay. Professor Rizaldi, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Retno-san not joined yet, I think.
Not yet. So
He already responded to me, but it seems to me that he might not be able.
Yeah.
Let me check again.
Yeah.
Whether he...
Okay. Yeah, but we know the situation of the Retno-san. So yeah. Anyway, we will ask the Arino-san to make a presentation, and if she can join we keep the time for her.
Yeah, I just got message from Retno. He's still in the hospital. So I mean to accompany Pak Uco in operation now. So he might not be able to join. So she's still in the hospital.
Okay.
Because Pak Uco is still in the operation room now.
Okay.
According to him, yes. So very sorry. Please pray
No.
him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We strongly hope. Yeah. Professor Uchok will come back from the hospital. Okay. Anyways, thank you very much, Professor Rizaldi.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we'd like to move to the last speaker, Dr. Arino. Yeah, he will explain the all the countries of the other ASEAN countries. Okay, Arino-san, floor is yours.
Well, this is thank you very much again for your introduction, and also Benito Sensei and Rizal Sensei and many others. Thank you for your presentation. Today, I was invited as as kind of the discussant to give comments and potential guiding questions based on the currently ongoing ASEAN's climate change strategic action plan projects. So this is a regional project, but based on the contents will be based on the national and the subnational actions. That's how I hope to present some questions and comments. So first of all, just to see the kind of holistic view of the region of the Asia, it is vital need to develop the regional national strategies and the roadmaps. Maybe we can also say that local level strategy roadmaps are vital need. And the science-based policies are vital. So that's how this LoCARNet project is very important, we believe. And secondly, the long-term policy schemes. So in order to make the transition smooth and just, so for example, this is initiative under G7 and also COP26, the Just Energy Transition Partnership. This is also now being happening in Indonesia. And I think this is a very good, sorry, I will use a pointer. Yes, this is a Just Energy Transition Partnership. Indonesia's government is taking an initiative thanks to some the financial supports by many other countries. And also, as Benito Sensei mentioned, that solar PV has a huge potential, and he mentioned that unused land enough. And it is very encouraging word because biodiversity conflicts and so competition of the land is will be expected to be very important kind of the barriers or some trade-offs. That's how it is not too early to think about the land competition over the solar PV diffusion in urban area, rural areas, also farming areas. So I mean the agrovoltaics or solar sharing kind of the idea concepts. Also inland water on the lake. Last week, I visited the Manila, Philippines, and I talked with Professor Demi. And Laguna Lake is now planning some floating solar PV. Anyway, so also the unused lands. So without some, with less kind of the concerns with conflicts with ecosystems preservation or biodiversity preservation, maybe we need to find this kind of transition possibility and the decarbonized technologies to create global market. Lastly, the geopolitical tension is there, but China is working as a kind of production hub of the solar PV, reducing the cost. So ASEAN region is the center between China and India, forming a golden arc of the investments and trade in the future market. So ASEAN region will be the player, central player. So this is just a brief overview of the mid-term, long-term. I will skip here, but already mentioned by Benito Sensei, LTS of the Thailand and also Indonesia's LTS example and the Vietnam's 2050 carbon neutrality pledge. So the national climate change strategy is now being developed. So adaptation and other issues there, so maybe we can learn across countries. I will introduce two other figures. This is the recent cost evolution, the reduction of the renewable energies. So solar PV have seen the drastic cost cut over the last 10 years. So 1/7, this is a global average from IRENA and the CSP and also offshore and onshore wind. The prices now, the cost is have cut. LCOE is now just half compared to the 10 years ago. So the landscape is changing. This is the final figure showing some the annual investment and also annual capacity addition. So the wind and solar and wind. So the totally now globally 230. So IEA roadmap for net zero says that 2030 we need around this 1,000 gigawatt annual addition. So this now just a 1/5. So maybe it is going a good direction. So lastly, some guiding question is I will not repeat again, but potentially what kind of scenarios will be important given the future societal, technological, and the policy trends changes. So long-term socio-economic development, how to estimate the lifestyle change and the energy demand, and also industrial structure change. Like Laos case today, maybe service sector is very large, but so what kind of the development pathway or societal change assumed in the development plan, and and this is point one, and point two is a technological development. So CCS and the hydrogen and ammonia, these are important, but the CCS technology, if CCS cannot be available until 2030 or after, maybe just thermal power may be locked in. So how to think about the CCS and also the degree of penetration, the renewable energy. So this is kind of the future potential scenarios. Also the large scale diffusion of the variable renewable energy like solar PV. So distributed PV and such systems can change the landscape of the land use change. So maybe both co-benefits and also trade-offs may be generating. So synergized solutions might be investigated. And lastly, what do you think about nature-based solution type of solutions in the modeling scenarios? Also energy resilience, so starting from the mitigation and energy security issue, but potentially the resilience side and adaptation side, especially in energy sector or leadership sector. So how can we think about come up with a good scientific tools or some application or applied areas of the research to facilitate this kind of discussion, to integrate the mitigations modelings to the very vitally necessary societal needs. So I will finish here. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Arino-san. Thank you very much for summarizing that discussion point. Sorry, could you please show your last slide?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a quite the good slide for the discussion. Sorry, could you please go back?
Okay.
To the...
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I think so we had better move to the last session, discussion session, but I hope if the Professor Bundit, Dr. Ram, and the Professor Rizaldi have a reply to the Arino-san's questions. Firstly, I hope you will make some the comments, and then we'd like to move to the discussion. So, Bundit Sensei or Rizaldi-san or Ram-san, are there any reply from these Arino-san's questions? No. So if not, we'd like to move to a discussion part, which is moderated by Kainuma-san, Dr. Kainuma. So is it okay, Kainuma-san?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, congratulations for your great jobs, and thank you for sharing your experience. I'm very much impressed with your studies. And already you have mentioned about the next steps and challenges, and here I must moderate the discussion. So my first question is, what is the most difficult part to develop net zero scenarios, or more precisely, to realize carbon neutrality? For example, dialogue with the policymakers or other stakeholders such as business person, building owner, and citizens are discussed. And I understand from Hua-san's talk that it is very important that policymakers are interested in model and net zero scenarios. So it is the first step. Yeah. So many, we already have you have already have a good experience on that. And also the local language problem was mentioned by Joe-san. So there are in Asia, each country has its own language. So it's also very important to have a talk with the stakeholders, especially for citizens. And constraints such as financial, human resources are also discussed. So do you have any other suggestions on the challenges or issues that we should understand, or we should notice that when we develop scenarios or we work together with the other stakeholders? So Hua-san, you already raised many challenges, but do you have any other clarification or raise or elaborate these the important things when we develop scenarios? Can you?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kainama-san, and thank you for the questions. So yes, actually, that is the most complicated part in the study. However, we try to how to say communicate again and again, and to meet them and to explain the stakeholder and also the partner what is important of that, and to get a active response on this matter. So often the organize a technical meeting, also the consultant workshop is also a very good chance to increasing the communication and discussion among the stakeholder to improve the how to say improve the results of the study to reach more the realities scenarios.
Yeah, thank you very much. And how about Professor Ho? You have lots of experience to have this such kind of stakeholder meeting and dialogue, and also the city planning. You are the specialist on city planning.
My experience with many mayors, I think currently the main concern is not so much of the knowledge now. I think many of them become more aware of this climate change. I think the concern is very much more on implementation. When you talk about implementation, of course, one is finance. The other part is the support from the people and the private sector. So the mayor himself is trying to do a lot of campaign buy-in, even have discussion with ambassadors of different countries, how they can invest green kind of investment in cities like Kuala Lumpur, Iskandar Malaysia, or Penang. I think these are probably the bigger agenda they are facing. And at the lower end, probably, if we talk about community engagement, these have been ongoing. It's only that they may not call it climate change kind of a project, but it's a lot on local agenda, or we call it sustainability project, like for instance, composting, community farming, waste recycling, and so on and so forth. But I think the challenging part is the higher infrastructure sustainability costs. Like for instance, we are talking about district cooling system or solar farm, you know. And the other important aspect faced by Malaysian cities are issues of many of these carbon issues are still depend on the central government. For instance, if the incentive for solar or incentive for EV vehicles, incentive to promote let's say, energy efficiency appliances or measures. Those are things are important, I think, for achievement of carbon neutrality. So those are the things that I think currently still the most challenging part because of the expensive capital cost. They need a kind of incentive or tax rebate so that for them to transition into this kind of low carbon pathway. So I think, of course, the other challenging issues always they've been asking developed country to come in to transfer technology. Of course, I think IGS, NIES, and Japanese side cities have do a lot of city-to-city collaboration with Malaysia. We appreciate it a lot. But I think in terms of actual investment, we can't see much. But capacity building, certainly, there is an increasing number of capacity building, especially I think through IGS or LoCARNet. I think a lot of capacity building or knowledge to understand modeling, to understand city-to-city collaboration are there. But certainly, still a lot of financial aspect, which I think private sector would come in. Yeah, with that, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, for your very, very insightful. Yeah, your analysis very, very useful for us. And yeah, you mentioned about technology, technology, and so on. And so, Benedito Sensei also mentioned about the issue of technology transfer or technologies. And I still not, fully. Also, I still not understand about the Benedito Sensei's picture of the carbon price or the figure of the macroeconomic impacts and cost benefit analysis. So I think this sustainability is important, and the job creation is also important. But I think this, in that case, if we plan to achieve net zero, carbon price will increase. We need lots of high carbon price. But in Thailand case, do you introduce a high carbon price, or do you plan to have any other policies to implement such kind of the new technologies? So can I ask you to elaborate more this issue, Benedito Sensei? Or?
Thank you, Dr. Kainuma. In terms of carbon price, after the government submit the revised or updated NDC and long-term strategy to UNFCCC at the end of last year, we already done by the Bank of Thailand. We have the project, that means Thai government, called taxonomy. We have experts from Europe and use the long-term strategy, that means carbon neutrality 2050 and mission pathway. Okay, and the Bank of Thailand already complete calculation of carbon tax, and they are now starting implementation by this year. And in this year, the Bank of Thailand by Thai government will also start calculation of carbon tax for industry and transport sector. Yeah, and they use the information from our study, especially emission pathway of carbon neutrality, but not the carbon price from MCGE. Yeah, as I know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, with the international collaboration, including also the EU taxonomy. EU taxonomy is very important. Yeah, target, I think, to achieve net zero society. So also the sustainable development also discussed today, I think, and the linkage between low carbon development and SDGs goals. I mean, the sustainable development issues. and co-benefits or trade-offs and synergies. So, Joe-san, can you elaborate more about trade-offs and synergies so we can really achieve the low carbon or zero carbon with the under the sustainable development? So what we should focus more to achieve these sustainable development goals and these climate change issues?
Thank you very much, Kainuma Sensei, for this very relevant and important question. I think actually it's very complicated relationships between the climate actions and or even including the climate change, climate actions and achieving the sustainable development. And it's also context or location specific. So that's why these kind of stakeholder consultations will be very helpful. So I think as we know that climate actions cuts across almost all the areas of sustainable development, all in very specific terms, the sustainable development goals. So I think the most important thing is to engage with different stakeholders representing different perspectives or concerns relating to this transition, and also reflect their voices, concerns in the policy making. I observed that most of the existing scenario development focusing mainly on the sectoral, I mean, energy-related sectoral transition, and also technological transition. But the economic implications of such transition and its implications for different social groups, I think, not well reflected. Or maybe that is because the limitation of the existing models that used for the scenario development, such as I mean, the model focused on the end use or technology kind of bottom-up type of exercise, or like the macroeconomic modeling. It can capture the economic kinds of impacts, but not necessarily to take account of the social dimensions. So I really think that maybe model has its limitations, but with stakeholder consultations, still these voices can be reflected even in a qualitative way rather than the quantitative kind of perspective. So, so I think, as I mentioned, the interactions are very comprehensive, including feedback and loops. And also quantification is challenging. So I think this stakeholder consultation involving different voices are very important for making equitable climate action strategy for not only addressing the particular mitigation, but also the overall sustainable development at the local level. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, yes, stakeholder consultation is, I think, it's also very, very important issue. And your figure, the map, very, very helpful for understand the interlinkage between SDGs. Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, can I have one more question? Or yeah, and about rule and anyway the absorption. And yeah, if we try to reduce emissions, there are 5 or 10% emissions left. And in that case, we need definitely the carbon absorption. And also, Arino-san also talked about your question about nature-based solution. And Rizalde-san also explained about the rule CF in the Indonesia, how the government and also the business person are trying to do plan to reduce the to absorb CO2, increase the absorption of CO2. So you have explained about, you have template or other the collaboration with the government and business person is crucial. And so you have any suggestion for other countries to increase the CO forest absorption, or anyway, affiliate sector? So Rizal and Professor Rizaldi, do you have any suggestions for other countries?
Thank you, Emuna. So actually, if I look at Asian countries, actually most of the Asian countries have the already net thing. So the land use change fund, Malaysia, Thailand, they also the negative emission already. So I think, yeah, Indonesia, because the Indonesia is a bit challenging for us. That's why it's very important how actually we can really engage the private. Because in the context of Indonesia, I think about more than 50% should be contributed by the private. But of course, it's not easy to do. But the private also look at the opportunity for the carbon credit. So they would like also to be being recognized by changing the way they manage do the business, especially when we go into the restoration of the peatland. Restoration of the peatland, if it is being degraded, it's really high investment is needed for restore the degraded peatland, and they might have benefit from come out from this peatland might be take long, and then of course if it is also able to produce quite significant of emission reduction because of these activities, and can be transferred partly into a certificate and can be traded also at to the market. So it might also be of interest of the private. Now with our regulation, especially on the carbon pricing, it is possible to do. So that's why now we also in the process with the ministry, also with the association to discuss further now how actually can look at these possibilities, including also how the current regulation is translated into an operation, especially when we are talking about carbon offset emission offset scheme that can be implemented by the concession. So we also now actually talking about whether actually the forest land use channel forestry is going to be capped their emission, or they're only dealing with the offset. So we also not being decided yet. So just still ongoing discussion on that. But of course, the interesting things actually through this kind of domestic carbon that we are developed. So we also hope that it also encourage for the smallholders, especially for the farmers, to really improve their land management, especially in moving from now into organic farming. For example, we also increase the soil carbon. And then like now Rabobank actually provide kind of incentive also for the farmers who actually adopt the conservation agriculture through the introduction of the organic fertilizer, also increase the soil carbon. So it got also kind of incentive. But now I see through this carbon pricing policies. So we also do hope that actually the farmers who actually implement this kind of conservative agriculture or conservative farming might also produce a credit. And then because in practice, there are many farmers are a bit hesitate to adopt this kind of technique, because in the first 2 years normally the yield are decreasing because the soil need time to restore back into to a better condition, because by putting the organic fertilizer can also improve the chemical and physical properties of the soil. but it also affect to some extent the yield at the first 2 years, and after that they increase the yield. But this actually the constraint. But if, say, for example, through this carbon pricing policy, and also the ability of the farmers to produce also a credit for implementing this kind of practices, it may also accelerate the adoption of this sustainable technology. So this also still a discussion, but the methodology that we need to develop, and that need also to be approved by the national team, or by the, we call it the methodological panel, is being set up also by the national government. Also now setting up kind of standard that going to be used for any entity who like to also to do a carbon project for all sector, including also forest and land use. But for the other sector, actually is managed by each ministries. It is a bit how to say, still a big challenge to do, because we also in learning. So we also now starting learning also from Europe and also from New Zealand, because New Zealand who actually a bit advanced in terms of follow project. So we also start to learn the system, because the system introduced by New Zealand is quite simple. It may be also important consideration for us how actually we can really develop the same approach. So my suggestion for the other countries, I think, of course, the engagement of the private are very important, and then how we also can introduce that actually by comply into the obligation of the concession who actually need to manage the forest in sustainable way. And then, of course, we also get the benefit of reducing the emission, also increasing the sequestration. But of course, law enforcement are very important in context of this. I think, I think that's actually the sum of point that I would like to share.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. For sharing the information and giving us the advices. And I have many other questions, but the time already passed. And time already passed, so I have to close the discussion. But of course, there are still many challenges, and also from the point of the scenarios, we need more. Next step, we need more studies on the integration, mitigation, and adaptation issues. And for just transition is also a big issue for the sustainable. To move to sustainable societies. And I think scenarios can show pathways and clarify how to tackle to achieve net zero societies. So, and also scenarios can support dialogue among stakeholders, as Joe-san suggested. And today we have discussed challenges and next steps. So I'm confident that today's discussion will be useful in our efforts to realize net zero societies. Thank you very much for your discussion. So Ishikawa-san, can you close the session? Or?
Yes, thank you very much, Kainuma Sensei, and thank you very much for that all the presentators, and then also Masai Sensei and Kainuma Sensei for the excellent facilitations. So after 3 years, kind of restrictions of our activities, including travels due to the corona pandemic, but that the world is much more back to normal. So for the past 3 years, we have been organizing our annual meeting online, but that we believe that it is important for the network to have opportunities to learn that from each other face to face. So therefore, that we hope to set up the kind of in-person meeting next fiscal year. And actually, I myself recently visited Bangkok, and then felt the importance of direct communication with our counterparts. So we hope we can meet in person in the near future. So we'd like to close this meeting, but once again, thank you very much for your kind cooperation. Yeah. Thank you very much. And then I'm looking forward to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.